Long before birds and mammals became prominent on Earth, the voices of frogs resounded through ancient forests and swamps. The singing males lured silent females to spawn in shallow water. From abandoned eggs, their fish-like tadpoles hatched. As the young grew, they transformed into tiny replicas of their parents, tailless and ready to live on land or in water, equipped with lungs, a broad mouth, bulging eyes, webbed toes, and powerful jumping legs. This life history pattern has persisted to the present day for the 33 species of frogs and toads native to eastern North America. These are divided among 5 families. 3 major groups of North American frogs, tree frogs, cricket frogs, and chorus frogs, belong to the family Hylady. They are usually small, sleek-bodied, and long-legged. North American hylids are most common in the mild and humid southeast. Their eggs are packaged singly or in small clusters bound by loose jelly. Tree frogs of the genus Hyla are good climbers and have large adhesive pads on the tips of their fingers and toes. In breeding choruses, males of most species call from perches on vegetation in or near standing water. Outside the spawning season, they may be found in places as varied as treetops and flower pots. The call of the tiny spring peeper, Hyla crucifer, is a sure sign of spring in northeastern North America. In the South, it is normally heard only during winter months. Now, a chorus of peepers with the added trill of a single gray tree frog. The 2 gray tree frogs, Hyla versicolor and Hyla chrysosceles, long considered a single species, are identical in appearance and cannot be told apart except by their voices or by examining their chromosomes. Hyla versicolor has a slower trill than does chrysosceles and has twice as many chromosomes. Here, the trills of versicolor are followed by the faster trilled calls of chrysosceles. Gray tree frogs range widely over eastern North America. One species predominates in the north, the other in the south. The more northern, Hyla versicolor, calls in chorus with a few plunking green frogs. Similar to the gray tree frogs in appearance is the bird-voiced tree frog, Hyla avivoca. It is found from southern Illinois to the Gulf Coast and in parts of Georgia and South Carolina. Its song, fading as gradually as it starts, is joined here by a red-eyed vireo, a hooded warbler, and a red-bellied woodpecker. One of the most common frogs of the southeast is the green tree frog, Hyla cinerea, sometimes called the cowbell frog. They are often seen on garden plants and on windows at night where they feed on insects attracted by lights. In warmer areas, its call may be heard from March to October. If two tree frogs begin singing very close to each other, often one will change its song to a trill. This special call warns the neighbor to become silent, retreat, or expect to be chased. Finally, a chorus of green tree frogs, with chirping cricket frogs and the distant grunt of a pig frog. The next four species of tree frogs are found only in southern and eastern coastal regions. All breed between March and September, exactly when depending upon local climatic conditions. The squirrel tree frog, Hyla squirrella, is a small frog common around houses and gardens from southeast Virginia to Florida and west to Texas. Here it calls with a southern toad in the background. Later in the season and away from water, its voice sounds more squirrel-like. Overlapping much of the squirrel tree frog's range but occurring no further west than Louisiana are the barking tree frog, Hyla gratiosa, and the pine woods tree frog, Hyla femoralis. The barking tree frog, a relatively shy frog, both burrows and climbs well. Breeding choruses are usually small, and males often call while floating in ponds in pine barrens and cypress woods. In this recording, barking tree frogs are accompanied by a peeping oak toad, a trilling southern toad, and a rattling chorus frog. The pine woods tree frog often frequents the tops of trees in pine flatwoods near ponds and cypress swamps. Breeding males call from the ground or from shrubs at the water's edge. pine barrens tree frog, Hyla andersoni, is one of North America's rarest frogs. With its colorful markings, it is perhaps our handsomest native tree frog. It is restricted to 4 small populations in New Jersey, the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. This tree frog is seldom seen since it is limited to acidic swamps and bogs. Its call is similar to that of the green tree frog and is heard here with cricket frogs and a barred owl in the background. The cricket frogs, the genus Acris, are tiny, warty, non-climbing tree frogs. They are often abundant along marshy borders of streams and permanent ponds throughout most of eastern and central North America, south of Canada and the Dakotas. Acris crepitans, the northern cricket frog, ranges into all of the United States east of the Rocky Mountains, with the exception of New England and North Dakota. Choruses form in spring or early summer. The southern cricket frog, Acris gryllus, is found in lowland bogs, ponds, and river swamps. Depending on the rains, it breeds from February to October. The chorus frogs, the genus Pseudacris, are small, secretive, and seldom seen outside the breeding season. Males typically call from clumps of vegetation in the shallow water of marshes, flooded fields, or wet open woodlands. In the north, breeding is a springtime event. In the south, most populations breed in the winter. The southern chorus frog, Pseudacris negrita, ranges across the coastal plain from North Carolina to Mississippi. In this recording, 2 nearby males alternate their calls. The second sings between calls of the first. It is possible to identify such duets or trios of neighboring males in the choruses of many species of frogs. The males establish a calling order, one often taking the lead with the others joining in sequence. This system enhances the communication effort of each individual's call, since interference from competing males is reduced. The most broadly distributed chorus frog is Pseudacris triceriata. Outside of New England and southeastern coastal areas, it is found nearly everywhere in the United States and central Canada east of the Rocky Mountains. Its voice, like that of the preceding species, resembles the sound produced by drawing a finger along a comb. Also similar in voice, but with even quicker, higher-pitched notes, is Brimley's chorus frog, Pseudacris brimleyi. This species has a small range along the eastern coastal plain from southern Virginia to northern Georgia. The mountain chorus frog, Pseudacris brachyphona, is an upland species found in moist wooded areas from central Alabama to southern Ohio and western Pennsylvania. Its voice is more like that of the squirrel tree frog than like that of other chorus frogs. Last of the 5 chorus frogs is the ornate chorus frog, Pseudacris ornata. It ranges through the southern coastal states and is commonly found breeding along with Pseudacris nigrita. Here it is accompanied by the weak voice of the little grass frog. The little grass frog, Limnaetus ocularis, is an odd member of the tree frog family that does not fit with either the tree frogs, cricket frogs, or chorus frogs. It is found from Florida to North Carolina and is the smallest frog or toad in North America. Adults are no larger than a honeybee and have a tinkling insect-like call. The largest tree frog in North America, the Cuban tree frog, Osteopilus septentrionalis, has emigrated from the West Indies. It occurs only in the southern tip of Florida. Females may reach 14 centimeters in body length, approximately twice the size of the barking tree frog, the largest native tree frog. Eggs are often laid in ponds, swimming pools, and drainage ditches. This frog's calls can be highly variable and are heard here with a narrow-mouthed toad bleating faintly in the background. Another West Indian emigrant is the greenhouse frog, Eleutherodactylus planarostris. It is now widespread in Florida. Only 6 species of this large tropical family, Leptodactylidae, occur in the United States. These frogs are far less dependent upon free water for breeding. The greenhouse frog deposits its eggs on land in damp places. There is no free-living tadpole stage. The eggs hatch into miniature adults. The call of a single male follows, with a bobwhite quail in the background. Most North American amphibians known as toads belong to 2 families, the Palobatidae or spadefoot toads and the Bufonidae, the true toads. Members of both families have short, stout bodies with relatively short legs. Their skin is often dry and warty and produces protective secretions that can be irritating to mucous membranes of man and other animals. Toads in a 3rd family, the Hylady, are less toad-like. These small, plump-bodied and smooth-skinned toads have tiny pointed heads with beady eyes. Only the eastern narrow-mouthed toad, Gastrophryne carolinensis, is found in eastern North America. It occurs throughout the southeastern regions of the United States. They often breed after heavy summer rains. These secretive animals are normally subterranean in habit, and males typically sing from shallow water while concealed in clumps of plants. Their mating calls have an easily recognized buzzing quality. The spadefoot toads have large eyes with vertical pupils and have a small, black, sharp-edged spade on each hind foot. Using its spades, a toad can burrow deeply into loose soil. The eastern spadefoot toad, Scaphiopus holbrooki, is found throughout much of the eastern United States. It breeds in large numbers after heavy spring and summer rains. Unlike the true toads, spadefoot toads close their eyes at the peak of each croak. Here, spadefoots are heard with ornate chorus frogs. True toads, the genus Bufo, are often seen around houses and gardens throughout the United States and Canada. Their skin is rougher than that of the spadefoots, and their eyes have horizontal pupils. In the shoulder region is a prominent pair of glands which produce a poisonous secretion if the animal is roughly handled. It won't cause warts, however. During the breeding season, many species call while sitting in the shallows or on land at the water's edge. The loud musical trills of the American toad, Bufo americanus, announce warm spring weather in southeastern Canada and nearly all of the eastern United States north of the Gulf Coast. A northern race, the Hudson Bay toad, is found as far north as Hudson Bay and southern Newfoundland. Along the coastal plain from southeastern Virginia to the Mississippi River, the American toad is replaced by the southern toad, Bufo terrestris, and the oak toad, Bufo quersicus. Calls of the southern toad are nearly an octave higher than those of the American toad, a slightly larger species. In general, smaller frogs and toads have higher pitched voices. First are isolated calls together with the gray tree frog, then a resounding chorus. The smallest true toad is the oak toad, Bufo quersicus. It seldom exceeds 3 centimeters in length. It lives in southern pine woodlands and is often active during the day. Following heavy, warm rains, oak toads use shallow accumulations of water for breeding. The eggs are laid in short gelatinous bars with 2 to 6 eggs per bar, unlike the long, sometimes coiled strings of eggs laid by most true toads. The mating call of this attractive dwarf toad is a bird-like peep. With it here are calls from a southern toad, a barking tree frog, and a gray tree frog. Overlapping the ranges of the 3 previous species and broadly distributed between southern New England and the Gulf Coast of Texas is Fowler's toad, Bufo woodhousei fowleri. This species closely resembles the American toad, but breeds later, and its call is quite different. It is heard here with a gray tree frog. Bufo marinus, the giant toad, ranges throughout the neotropics just reaching southern Texas. It has been introduced to Miami, Florida, where it is common in suburban areas. Dogs and cats that bite one of these huge toads may be poisoned by its highly toxic skin secretions. Its slow, low-pitched trill was recorded in Mexico. The true or typical frogs belong to the family Ranidae. They are widely distributed. In North America, leopard frogs, bullfrogs, and green frogs are the species most frequently seen and heard. They are long-legged and have pointed, fully webbed toes. Males call while sitting or floating in water. The leopard frog complex, once thought to be a series of geographic races of a single species, Rana pipiens, contains several look-alike species. The group is widespread over North America east of the Pacific states and can be found in nearly any freshwater location. The northern leopard frog, still Rana pipiens, abounds throughout the northern United States, the Rocky Mountain area, and Canada. Choruses form in early spring and can be heard here with spring peepers. The southern leopard frog, Rana utricularia, also known as Rana spinocephala, occurs in all southern states east of central Texas and north to central Illinois and New Jersey. In the north, it breeds in early spring. In the south, it breeds year-round. Here it calls in chorus with gray tree frogs, cricket frogs, and chorus frogs. A relative of the leopard frogs is the pickerel frog, Rana palustris. It lives in sphagnum bogs and flowing streams east of the Great Plains, with the exception of Florida and adjacent areas. Its snoring call is heard along with a single spring peeper. The range of the wood frog, Rana sylvatica, extends into the Arctic tundra, further north than any other North American amphibian. It spans Canada from Labrador to Alaska. In the east, it reaches as far south as the mountains of Georgia. This frog lives on land in moist woodlands, where it hibernates out of water in logs and under stumps and stones. During the spring thaw, males congregate in vernal ponds for a brief season of intensive calling and breeding. A more aquatic frog of the North Woods is the mink frog, Rana septentrionalis. It is most common in lakes and ponds where water lilies grow, and can be found from northern New England and Minnesota to Hudson Bay. Choruses, such as this, form in midsummer. Restricted to the southeastern coast of the United States are the carpenter frog and the gopher frog. The carpenter frog, Rana virgatipes, can be found in bogs from New Jersey to northern Florida. Its breeding calls, heard during spring and summer, resemble blows of a hammer on a board. Occurring from North Carolina to Louisiana and in the central United States as far north as Iowa is the gopher or crayfish frog, Rana areolata. It lives underground in pine scrub or moist grasslands, often in the burrows made by gopher tortoises, mammals, or crayfish. After heavy spring and early summer rains, gopher frogs migrate to nearby ponds to breed. First, the coarse, drawn-out snore of an individual of the Florida race is heard. Then a chorus with little grass frogs and the Florida chorus frog, Pseudacris negrita verrucosa. The river frog, Rana hectori, is a large frog of swampy river edges and bayous. It is found from southeastern North Carolina to north-central Florida and southern Mississippi, where it breeds from April to August. The growl-like calls of a river frog are here part of a mixed chorus that includes insects, a green tree frog, and the faint voice of a narrow-mouthed toad. Three highly aquatic frogs common in warm water ponds and swamps are the green frog, pig frog, and bullfrog. All have long breeding seasons and can be heard calling through much of the summer. Individual males often claim particular breeding sites, defending them from intruding males with vocal warnings, pursuit, and combat in the form of grappling and wrestling matches. Eggs are released in a spreading surface film, unlike the submerged, compact masses typical of most North American ranid frogs. Spawning takes place in relatively permanent bodies of water, allowing the tadpoles to overwinter and grow to large size before metamorphosis. Green frogs, Rana clamitans, are found throughout the eastern half of North America. Their banjo-like calls are heard here at sunrise when red-winged blackbirds, song sparrows, and swamp sparrows start singing. Less familiar is the pig frog, Rana grillio, a shy species with a narrow coastal distribution from South Carolina to eastern Texas, including all of Florida. It is bullfrog-like in size and appearance, but in chorus sounds like a herd of swine. The largest North American frog is the bullfrog, Rana catesbyana. It is native to the eastern part of the continent, from Canada to eastern Mexico, and has been introduced into much of the West. A bullfrog's vibrant breeding call is heard here with cricket frogs, barking tree frogs, with little grass frogs in the background. Song stimulates song, and soon they sing in chorus. In response to the calls of an approaching male, an established territorial male will often sound a curt warning. As evening wears on, it grows cooler, and calling subsides.